Rick, where'd you get a hand grenade?
I don't know.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
Oh, I hope you don't hate me. Senator Susan Cat. So I mentioned before I went in that the thumbnail, what these kids call the thumbnail of your photo of us, quite frankly, was horrible. You were just one of those, you couldn't pause it at a worse time thing.
Right.
So I told you I would try to fix it. I would give my best and try to fix it. And it's just a huge eyeball now. It's a massive, evidently, I don't know why it's a big eyeball. It's sorry. I'll try to fix it, I swear to God.
And can I just say that there's a common theme that I'll acknowledge that, some of the worst pictures of me have been shared by Republicans, usually in campaign lit.
And honestly, if I were king for the day, I would get rid of that crap. The idea that you take there's the worst photo possible. Then if we make it gray, she'll see like a devil. That whole thing in marketing and shouldn't be gone. I did not mean to make you a big eyeball. I am horrified. I don't know how to get it back. I promise when I figure it out, I will. But
sure,
that it doesn't do you justice, you big eyeball. Okay, now I'm lost. Let me ask you quickly if we can. Big elections yesterday.
Yes.
Now I was following along. I don't want to say I wasn't following along, and I knew that the Supreme Court thing in Wisconsin was a big deal. For the life of me, I did not know why. Be completely honest with you, why that was such a big deal. We have a Supreme Court here. We don't seem to get all cray-cray about it, but okay. So it was, and the Democrat won that.
Yep.
Like, okay, fair enough. Why do I have two of them? That's the problem there. I'm okay. I don't know why that should matter. And here's my point with Supreme Courts in general. And I know we have a very liberal one here, but I enjoyed them 3-4 times this summer watching them work. Their job is to read the law and tell you what the law means and that sort of thing. So the idea that you lean left or right, I get it, but it shouldn't be that big a thing. Read the law, tell me what it means, right? So I don't know why this was going to be the end-all, be-all Wisconsin, but evidently it was. And then when I really find out what Wisconsin also voted for voter ID, I hear the left in this morning claiming this huge victory, and okay, again, that's got to be muted with if you're just following the law. But the other one was they had voter ID, and I think the right would, when we haven't talked about it, they voted in voter ID in their Constitution yesterday. Right. I don't know if this isn't a splitting the baby in half kind of situation.
So I don't know the details of the voter ID amendment. That's one of the things I meant to look up because I wasn't even aware that one was on the ballot until I heard the results last night. So, it could, because the problem with the voter ID thing, again, it's sort of like the immigration conversation. There are reasonable ways to go about it. It's just too often the proposals are unreasonable and would shut people out, treat some people unfairly. So that's where that disagreement usually comes from. But what I would say about the Supreme Court race is Elon Musk himself, through his PACs, spent over $20 million on that race. Okay.
Yes.
That is, I mean, I don't think a single human being in this country should think that's okay. Because for a mid-sized state, for a Supreme Court race, I don't think, I haven't looked up the numbers, but I doubt the U.S. Senate races have cost that much.
Oh, this is the most expensive race for judges in the history of the world. I get that, both sides.
And so it is such a blatant case of trying to buy an election right now. And there's some conversation because there is at least one case that they know is on the way into the state Supreme Court that would have to do with Tesla sales. So, some people are looking at that saying, is that a specific agenda item for Musk? Or is this just a general way of, but, and we're seeing this in different ways. There are plenty of reports that, like, for example, with the confirmation of Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, that he flat out is there calling Republican senators and saying, if you don't vote for our nominee, I will put $100 million into your primary opponent's campaign coffers. So this is, again, is it corrupt? Do we call this corruption? Do we call this absolute abuse? It's
a degree, right? It's a degree, right? Because on the other side, and again, because I like to yabba ya, on the other side, you have very far left-wing folks. I throw AOC, who says if you're not going to that, I will guarantee you get primaried, and we're going to have this go this way. Wisconsin, or not Wisconsin, Michigan was a big deal on that. And again, it's both sides.
That's a huge difference, right? I mean, individual people can say, I'll go out and recruit a candidate to run against you. By the way, that was done for me too, in an interesting way, but we won't go there.
We're going to rehash 10 years. But let me ask you this: on my bigger point was, I
just need to close this up. The point is it's the money. It is the guarantee. It is the big checkbook of one individual who happens to be the world's richest person and happens to be Donald Trump's biggest campaign donor. It is a complete distortion of what our system is supposed to be. It is one thing to use political games and threats and say we will recruit people.
But where would you stop that then? Where would you stop that? Okay, he wins because he's number one richest guy. I don't hear you talk about Soros. I don't hear you talk about Gates. I don't hear you talk about any of that.
I would absolutely say we need to go back and get rid of the Citizens United ruling, because we should not have this unfettered money in our politics, and that should be illegal across the board.
Okay, now, Miss Politician, you never answered my question. What am I missing? Why is a Supreme Court nominee or spot in Wisconsin, and here's a putting $20 million, why is that so important compared to, and again, I'm looking at, they just put in voter ID laws. I think that would have been the bigger issue in Wisconsin. What am I missing?
Because the bigger issue absolutely was, and this is what drove most of the people to the polls, is it was an absolute rejection of what Elon Musk himself, with the Republican support of Donald Trump and everybody else, of trying to rig an election with money. And that's what's gone, right? I mean, that's what was absolutely rejected. And it goes to show you, to your point, probably a bunch of Republicans came out and voted against that nonsense too. Not to mention everything he stands for and what he's doing with Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and agencies that matter.
Before we go too offline, but I'm a big old Republican.
That's not offline. Those things are related. That's why voters turned out.
The two that are there, my point is, you said that these Republicans, this is a turn away from the Republicans going after this bill. I'm not a smart Republican, but a Republican, I was more intrigued with the voter ID rule than I give a crap about that. If I didn't say that correctly, that's my point. You could have people, again, I don't know what was in that particular bill language. You can have people who say that there are reasonable ways to implement voter ID. Yeah. And I don't know the details. Maybe that was a bipartisan amendment, and it really did get bipartisan support. So, it is possible, but it is also very possible and likely that a bunch of moderates and even some Republicans voted for Elon Musk because they wanted to send a very strong signal that Wisconsin is not for sale. Okay. I have one more before we got to go to break. Is there other federal stuff you want to make sure we talk about today? I would really love to get to the non-transparency of both sides of Minnesota when they talk about this budget that we got going on and who's cutting the most as the budget actually goes up. I'd like to discuss that. Is that okay? Do we have something else you want to make sure we hit on? Well, we're going to have 7 minutes on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, we can, if you will honor your promise, and we can do this again next week. We have got to talk about Social Security. This is something you and I talked about a few weeks ago. Yeah. I wanted to talk about it last week, and we need to talk about it this week.
And we can. The budget will still be going on.
Okay.
And as far as honoring my promises, I almost never do. So let's not hold me to. I promise you, I almost never do. That didn't sound right. We'll be back after this with more on the Al Travis Show.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease! It'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
She said her, Susan Kent. I was so happy with myself, and now I'm not. So I got your headshot while we were in the commercial break, and I did everything I think I'm supposed to do. As I'm looking at you you have changed to your headshot. I was very happy with myself. Then I go to YouTube, and I hit it, and it's just like the giant eyeball. It's just your giant eyeball. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Son of a bitch. I was so happy. I don't know if you saw me doing this thing. I'm like, yeah, I got it fixed. You're a giant eyeball. I will get it fixed. I don't.
There you go.
Life is hard. So, Social Security, huh? I want to get this done. I'll forget next week, and you'll be so mad at me, and the world's going to say, see, you forgot his promise. I'm horrible.
Well, this fully falls under the heading of cleanup on aisle 9, because when you and I talked about this a few weeks ago, this was when, the news was that they were going to cut some offices, and you thought that was probably pretty good. That would save some money and people can just use the phone.
I did say that. Yes.
Yeah. And then we got the news, and this is your cleanup on aisle 9 now.
You're cleaning up my cleanup on aisle 9? Well, thank you very much. Okay.
I'm
right.
pointing out the spill.
Okay, go ahead.
that they're cutting all the phone people. So, and now we've got stories of, a 90-something-year-old man in the state of Washington who Elon declared him dead, and not only didn't send him his money, threatened to take his money back. Like they tried to go into his bank account and claw back $5,000 from it. And so, this is just the point that this is real people's lives. I don't know about your family, but, we already rely on Social Security income in my family because my husband's retired. And I do my mother's finances because she lives in memory care in Dallas with dementia and Parkinson's. And I am now like looking, she has a very uninteresting bank account, right? And so, but I have, I take care of it and I pay her bills. And I am now routinely looking to make sure that her Social Security has arrived and is staying there.
Sure.
Because if it doesn't, we're going to have a problem,
See,
there's nothing we can do about it.
Let's go to the Social Security argument. And a 90-year-old guy, I'm not happy for him. Back to we're trying to change the world, update Social Security, make sure that some guy who's 120 years old is not getting his Social Security because he is dead. We're going to find things. What I don't understand is, okay, you can find the 90-year-old, and that sucks. I presume they're going right back to fix him, make him whole, get him his money, because we found out about it. But I don't see on the other side when I say I can point to you, 2,120 octarians or whatever they call 120 are getting checks. Why that isn't enough because one guy might get cut off if we cut him off. I think there's going to be bumps and bruises, and we need to fix it.
But you've removed the ability for anybody to fix it, right? So you can't go to your office. He had to drive hours to get to a place, and this was a different guy, had to go hours to get to an office.
It's fixed. Sorry.
Waited for hours.
Yep.
Waited for hours, and then the office closed. And he didn't get to talk to anybody because he waited for hours, and then the office closed.
Okay, so how large, and that sucks. So, I'm not saying this guy isn't have a tough time.
And let me back up. I'm going to back up here. So this is the real world examples of what's happening, right? And these are our most vulnerable people who've played by the rules. I get really mad because Republicans have loved to refer to things like Social Security and Medicare as an entitlement, as if it is something we are giving you and you are lucky to receive it. No. You and I and everybody else who've been working our entire lives have paid into this, and our employers have paid into this, and it's a contract, and we've earned it. And so,
I want to
yell it. Not yet. I'm gonna finish my thing. But the deal is, Elon Musk is in there doing all this stuff. By the way, Social Security has a T9C fraction of mistakes in their normal operations. It's a tiny, minuscule fraction, and I heard somebody say probably less than you would get from like normal retirement investment type services, right? And so it's like, why is it a problem? The problem with Social Security isn't that it's badly run, that there is big waste and inefficiencies. Nobody has demonstrated that. It's got a pretty good track record of doing the work that it's supposed to do. The problem with Social Security is that the cap means that the finances will be out of whack, but that's not a function of waste, right? And that can be solved quickly, and I think we could, in theory, get a very bipartisan. But
you don't let me have a but if you talk the whole way out of the segment.
Republicans have wanted to privatize Social Security so that it can go into the big investment type banking finance world, and they can get a cut out of our work. And so that's the problem with this. And this is why Elon Musk calls it a Ponzi scheme when it is not. It is what our most vulnerable people have earned. It's incredibly successful and popular.
You use language like that, and you said the entitlement thing. It would not be an entitlement if Susan Kent said it was at 14, I presume in Louisiana, I was at 14 and a half, you got to start working. You and I have been putting into this system 7.5%. Our boss is 7.5%. Our entire lives, so there's something to fall back on. A man could do the math, some calculate, and know exactly what that is. The reason it becomes an entitlement is more people are pulling out than they put in. You and I who go through our lives and make that happen are fine. Folks who don't ever put in because of whatever terrible thing happened, got hit by a truck, did whatever, are pulling money out that they did not pull in. And now that's an entitlement. It comes out of this big hash of money we have, but there are actually people illegally in this country getting Social Security payments, and that's the sort of stuff, because I watched Elon Musk on his hour-long special talking about the fact that you can come into some countries and sign up and you get a check.
You can't trust that. The reality is that all these you can't trust anything Elon Musk says. I mean, he is just discredited
because he's a billionaire who'll work for nothing to save me money?
Because he has been discredited repeatedly on all of these topics. It's just
well, we're going to disagree.
Good luck with that one. We should put a bet on this one.
So just out of curiosity, how many condoms do you think we need to send to the Congo? Just out of curiosity. Why? Just a number. 10, 100, 50 million?
That. We're talking about
Why?
Social Security. We're talking about Social Security.
And then
And let's
you'll
stick
do
with
this
the
for me
top.
then, because you held me to this.
No,
when the number comes out of how many people that are dead or they're getting it and their families still cashing checks, when we find those, and we'll do it person by person like this 90-year guys, you'll say, yeah, that was Elon Musk finding that for me. If you'll do that for me, we can have this. But just to say the guy's dumb.
No,
is
like
ridiculous.
I said, the numbers are already there. They already identify those. And yeah, those things happen and it's not good. And they find them and then people get charged with fraud.
But we
when they
weren't
do it.
finding them.
Yes,
Elon Musk
yes.
found them. Elon Musk
No.
came in and found them. No
Again,
one else. The last
can't
government
believe-
officials didn't do it. Your Biden guy didn't.
There's no credit. We have been doing it forever and we've been doing it successfully. And the rate of error and fraud in Social Security is minuscule. They are blowing this up to try to distract people to feel like somehow we're being cheated. The reason the economics for Social Security aren't working is because there's a whole bunch of us in the baby boom, and you and I are the babies of the baby boom.
Because we give out more than we put in. That's an entitlement. That's
because
exactly it.
There are a bunch of us who are drawing on the system, and there are far fewer people who are putting into the system.
But
And we can
Senator,
fix
you're
that.
not following the math, and we're 1 minute. We're not going to be able to do it. If you
we
put
need
in
the
$100,000 and you pull
solution-
100,000 out, it's no problem. The problem is
The
you pull 200,000 out because you live
The
too long.
solution
It's
is for
thr-
people who make $400,000 to pay their fair share, and then we'd fix the economics.
No,
in a
how about if
heartbeat.
we just take out our fair share? If we just took out what we put in, we'd be fine. It wouldn't
No,
go bankrupt.
that's not
Why does
necessary.
not? Why?
Richer
Because it's not
people-
necessary.
The Social Security cap
20
is unfair.
seconds.
The
We're-
Social Security cap is unfair to working people. That's what the answer is.
Okay, I'm going to
We
be
know
the last
that
word.
now.
It's Senator. Absolutely, Senator Susan Kent on the Al Travis Show. More after this.